Okay, good morning, guys. Just make sure I am everything going. Jason, g'day, mate. Hope you're doing well. All right, so we're coming through loud and clear. Just give me a nod or a thumbs up, or give me an emoji of some sort. Bruce Vegas, g'day, Barry. Lauren, how are you, mate? Hope we're doing well. All right, let's rip into it. So it's going to be short, and sharp, and sweet, hopefully, if I can contain my talk. But anyway, welcome to Morning Playbook. It is the 27th of May. So today, I just want to go through, obviously, we've had a great trade on the pound, which we were discussing yesterday. We've actually talked about that the last few days, just waiting for that setup. We had one dip at it, like when we sent out an entry alert. It didn't kick off. The market continued to go down, so that was cancelled. And then we had another go at it yesterday, and it's just it's flying. So we're still in that at the moment. I'll just discuss the breakdown of that, which will probably be pretty clear to you, many that have been following for a while. Then we're just going to go over Bitcoin and Ethereum. They've been going as expected since we've been discussing in the last probably week or so. And I'm just watching that for further weakness, some serious weakness. But we'll discuss those. I'm just going to go over gold, oil, and copper. Now, gold, oil, and copper are a bit of a proxy for the overall market. And now the overall market was flying yesterday and last night in the US. But if you notice, it was getting ramped up through Asian trade as the US dollar backed off. So the US dollar started backing off around, or fell apart basically around 9 a.m. Australian time or Sydney time yesterday before the markets had opened. So that weakness into the dollar is sort of correlated with strength into the equity market. And we just kept plugging high, and the Aussie dollar was rallying. All the currencies against the pound were rallying. Excuse me. So we saw that tick off yesterday. Markets, excuse me. If I don't talk to anyone for about half an hour, then I'll start talking. It's a bit hard on the throat. And well and truly ramped up yesterday into the US Open, and you'll see, you look at the actual indices on, say, the Dow, the S&P, and the NASDAQ, all gapped up on the open as expected. The Dow actually held up okay, but the S&P was pretty much, the high was on the open. The high of the day, pretty much, it sort of popped up a bit from the open, backed off, retested that high, and then sold off into the close. And the NASDAQ pretty much fell apart. NASDAQ did end up, but off the highs as well, off the highs. So that's interesting to note. There was obviously some profit taking in the US session after, they come back from a 3-day break and the markets are up strong. So yeah, we'll just go over that, and I'll just go over, looking at gold. Equity markets are just running on. I don't expect that to continue. I mean, most people don't. I mean, we're not trying to pick the high. I mean, if you try to sell by picking the high rather than waiting for it to happen, you're probably going to get caught out. And if you're doing that, if you're starting to do that now, I won't believe you if you said you'd never done it before. So you'd try to pick the top quite a few times and been burnt. At the moment, markets are up. We're buying until something falls apart. And I just want to touch on a few things today to see whether or not there could be future weakness coming in. So let's go. And before we get started, just remember to jump on their website, TradeSetup.com.au. There'll be some new resources we're starting to put up. A lot of it is streams that we sent. For anyone that's new, jump on there. There'll be some resources. I'm going to start uploading some videos there. Also, we're going to have that link for an email out. So you subscribe to the link. Anyone that's been around for a while will get that anyway. But if you're new and you just want to get to know TradeSetup, feel free to subscribe to that link, free. There'll be some resources on there for free to get to know what we do. Anyway, so this is a pound trade. All right, so we were looking at this for quite a while. You could see there was some key support zone. I've taken it off the chart because it's just got a bit messy. But key support zone, say, through here on a daily basis. Okay, whoops. Let me just get back there. There we go. So through this zone, so you can see we were looking at a bit of a rally here. That didn't kick off. I mean, once it took out one of these highs, we're happy to get in. That didn't kick off. It turned down, and basically if it tags our support, our stop loss level before we enter, the trade is null and void, and it's come down, and we found its support through here. And we were talking about this yesterday. If it picks up through 122, let's say 122.08, we had the entry, then that's off a higher low. You know that it's off a major support zone. We've got a big flush out on higher time frames. We're on the 15-minute here. So the higher time frames, a big flush out, retest, and that's a key higher low. So what we're looking at is if we extended that out, which would probably hit hit now? We're not far off that zone, so we're looking for a push up to that zone. So we're there about now. Okay, so we've tightened our stop right up to 23.15 from 23.08, sorry, 22.08. So what's that? 107 pips, and that still to me looks like it could kick off. It's going to be one or two things. We're going to get done in a bit of a flush, and it might pop after that, or we're going to roll over because it is well and truly extended. So if you go and look at the US dollars down near support, it could extend a little bit further. You look at the euro is up near resistance. The pound has gone pretty hard. So the pound has sort of got this is why I don't mind the pound as opposed to the Aussie and the euro. It's got no key resistance zone. So you've probably got maybe one in here, which it actually is just touched on, but it's not a key level. This zone through here, which is just touched on, it's not a key level, which means it may, disregard it and just pop up from here and go up to the next couple of levels further up, which could add another 70 pips on or so, or even more, another 100 pips or so. Or it could just keep going up to major highs. We can't get that major highs, which are a lot further up anyway. But looking at the resistance, looking at the euro, that could run into resistance. The US dollar fell apart, like I said yesterday, right down the support zone. It's hit a minor support, and there's a chance that it could push through a little bit further today to a major support zone, which would mean that the pound's going to lift and the Aussie will lift and the euro will lift. So we'll see how they go. All right, so we're still hanging in that one. Hopefully we can weather a bit of a flush lower before it pops up, but that looks like it's contracting. Okay, contracting with high lows, lower highs, which means it's consolidating that high. If you're consolidating that high, there's a chance we've got another leg up. All right, so we'll just keep an eye on that one. So that was a pound trade, gangbusters at the moment. We'll just hopefully that keeps paying out for us. What I wanted to go over now was, where are we? Here we go. Copper. Now this is the 4-hourly chart on copper. You've got a key resistance zone that's coming into, and that's when it fell apart with a big sell-off in March. Copper fell apart, and that's on demand. If there's no, countries or anything not going to suck into demand, obviously price is going to drop like a stone. If demand drops as well, and that's the expectation for demand drop. Now we're seeing with the market bouncing, that expectation that demand's going to lift has supported copper. But it's coming right up into a zone now at 251. You can see it's holding higher lows, which is great. It's still got higher highs, but those higher highs are getting shallower, meaning it's not pushing through the previous high by much. And that's not the best sign for the bulls. And that's probably as we're approaching that resistance zone. So that could play out to another sell-off. All right, so if we drop it down, just looking at the hourly chart, you've got this high just slightly, so it touched on this zone at 243, backed off, consolidated, whipped through it, sold off quite heavily. It's come straight back into that zone with a rally from yesterday, probably the previous couple of sessions. But then it's failed. So it's failed at this zone again. So you've got it failing here once, twice, did flush it out, popped down, failing again. So for me, the fact that we've taken out this level, so that was your leg up, expansion, contraction, consolidation, expansion again. We've just gone straight through that low at around 22.4 or 2.420. Gone through that. We're coming up to make a shoulder, and we're just starting to fail now. So this leg up here alone is starting to fail. So what we could be looking for on, if we just draw that up, is, whoops, let me just change that. We could be looking for is, so here we go, we've got it now, is this kind of thing. So I'll be looking for that shoulder and an expansion down. All right, and then we're down to potentially what we'd be looking at, see if they can hold this high low, hold this trend line. And basically it's going to come in somewhere, probably just above this low here as well. So if it does that, great. But it could play into a bit of a sell-off in equity markets in near term. But we'll see how that goes. So that was copper. Crude oil. This is a 30-minute chart. So we've got the high up here. It rejected it. It flushed through and fell straight back again to finish below. And that was on that 30-minute candle. Coming into the US open. That was at 11 o'clock to 11:30 candle. So it finished there at 11:30. The US is opened at 11:30. Sold off. Bounced back. And again, failed just below this high. And at roughly this same level through here around 34.50. Okay, so it's failing again. What we're looking at, I mean, this is only a very minor level, inside level, is if it fails through 33.75, that leads me to believe that it's going to at least test 33, which confirms this lower high. All that does is confirm me there's potential weakness coming in. So whether we get a spike like that, who knows? We could, what I'd be watching if this level holds and we sort of go back up and start making lower highs, and then eventually I would expect that kind of price action. Because once you start getting down to this zone here around 33.40, off lower highs, off a key double top essentially, there's going to be some buyers that bought it up in this ramp. They're going to have to think about their positions, think about their risk, and where they're going to place their risk and potential for that further sell-off. All right, so that's Crude. That's what I've got my eye on Crude. Now, if I'm wrong, this holds up and we start building a high low and bang up through that resistance zone, forget about it. There's going to be some more strength into equity markets. Now, if this happens, that could be sort of early warning signs along with copper and gold, which we'll look at in a second. Early warning signs that we've got a bit of a pullback coming, especially after the ramp last night. With the way our market up 160 points, I get a bit concerned that's a bit of a blowout, and that's going to catch a lot of bulls off guard because it broke through a resistance zone, traded straight through 30.57 and higher. And then if that is a bit of a flush, everyone's bullish at the moment, everyone. And that's a great time for a bit of a sell-off, just to catch them all off guard and wash them all back out of the market. Now, gold, we spoke about this a long time ago, of failing at that 1740.50 zone. So there's 1740 highs here. We flushed up and through. I didn't want to see a lower high. So we've got that lower high, and price is starting to back off now. Sorry, I got my cat trying to get out. Just annoy me. So it's failing. I did have a little a rising trend here, trend line. So we're looking at sort of this action along those highs. You know, that contraction, that's just a failed pattern there, but it's got longer term support that could come through a bit lower, 1700. Now, if we get through 1700, through these lows, that pattern's sort of failing, and we could see a serious sell-off, because what we've got is ramped up, failure off a higher low, retest, failure, you know, grinding. All this action here should be sucking in a lot of buyers. It rammed it up through that 1750, and it's failed again. So it didn't get through there with any strength, which obviously gets me a bit concerned. Okay, that we're going to see some further downside pressure, which is going to hurt all the Aussie goldies. And we're going to get probably there. You would expect they're going to back off a bit today, but the euphoria into equities might support them. We'll see. Now, quickly, Bitcoin. We've talked about this a bit. It's coming. We've talked about Bitcoin a bit. Resistance up here. So the longer term trend, I can't really say, is this downtrend line that's going across the tops. Okay, major highs. We've got this major level up here. It's failed at a lower level. Okay, and so this trend up off this lows around 5,000 is starting to fail. So longer term, if this can't hold up above, say, 8,300, 8,350, you know, if we start to rally up, great. If we don't, we start to get, that could start to accelerate. If we start to accelerate through that low, we're looking at lower levels longer term. Okay, so that's Bitcoin. And it's really comes down to these levels holding for further weakness, level at around 80, 89.80, say, and then another level around 92.75 or, you know, 92.80. Okay, so if this holds, we start to get weakness break through those lows, that could start to accelerate. So that's what we've got my eye on there. And the last one we'll get on to is Ethereum now. Ethereum hasn't broken down just like Bitcoin as yet. We've got serious resistance up here at about 216. We were looking for that entry short at around 208, which played out, but it comes straight back down to that support zone. It has reacted quite sharply off there, so there's still this contraction longer term, major higher highs, but sellers are starting to roll in. Okay, so again, if that holds this level around 204, expect some further weakness to come in. Now, if we trade down to 191, then it's broken that key uptrend, and the sellers are going to start to come out in force because they're starting to, you know, they're in control. Okay, once we start to take out some of these higher lows. All right, so we'll keep an eye on that, see how we go. That's about it for today. Thanks very much for joining me. We'll make these short and sharp. If you like what you see, it'd be much appreciated if you can leave us a like, even if you share anything on your YouTube or Twitter or whatever it may be. That'd be great. So we'll be putting out more and more things on Twitter, YouTube, and some more short videos to come. All right, guys, thanks for joining me, and we'll speak to you again soon. Cheers, bye.